Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining for the first time, we always appreciate your time here. Listen, folks, it is important for the continent of Africa to understand what has happened in the past couple of months because the time for regret is over. The time for apologies is over. The time for action is now. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the message that has been sent across the region, it is clear. The message states that you are on your own from the strategic point of view. If you do not sit up, if you do not build your capacity, if you do not put your own interests first or open your borders, break down your particular small nations that you refuse your citizens to move freely, and if you do not diversify your market, make unpopular choices, you are on your own. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it comes at a time when multilateralism is on life support and unilateralism is taking foothold.
We all accepted a rule-based trading system, and it has served the world well because it has led to quite significant growth in GDP across the world. It is unfortunate that without resorting to the rules-based system, one country unilaterally decides to increase tariffs across board on all countries. A multilateral world serves us all better than unilateral world, where people just take decisions based on only their country's interests. We must look at the broader global partnerships and the global interests rather than just our parochial national interests.
It is important to know that African countries at this particular time, considering the challenges that they are going through, because if you do not know that the odds are against you regards to international trade and collaboration, then you are mistaken. If you think South Africa is being pushed, Egypt and a whole lot of other countries across the region regards to trade relationship and international collaboration from the strategic engagement point of view. If you have two partners, one, it's saying that I'm going to give you 20% today, I'm going to increase it to 25% tomorrow, and I could take it to 35% the other day. And today, and leave you on total uncertainty.
The US has put new tariffs on 20 African countries. Trump signed the sweeping executive order on Thursday, which will take effect in 7 days. Most African countries received a reduced rate compared to the tariffs that Trump had announced in April. Lesotho avoided a disaster with a 15% tariff rate down from 50% just 3 months earlier. Other countries were less fortunate. Algeria, Libya and South Africa round out the top 3 African countries facing the highest tariff rates after Thursday's announcement. South Africa said on Friday that it would take action to support exporters hit by US tariffs, which is expected to trigger widespread job losses in the nation's automotive and agriculture industries.
And the other partner is telling you, I may not even increase anything. You may trade with me as equals. More importantly, I will not even increase any particular tariffs on your product for free. How would you look at these two communications? It come out clear.
The deal, known as the China-Africa Economic Partnership for Shared Development, would offer zero tariff access to the Chinese market to all African countries if agreed by the two sides. The measure was announced as African foreign ministers gathered in central China to review the implementation of the outcomes of the China-Africa Summit held last September. President Xi Jinping announced that China will implement the policy of granting 53 African countries having diplomatic relations with China zero tariff treatment for 100% tariff lines, provide more facilitation to least developed countries in Africa for the exports to China, and work with Africa to further implement the 10 partnership actions and building an all-weather China-Africa community with a shared future for the new era. Zero tariff treatment was only available to 33 African countries previously.
Make no mistake, at this moment, the continent of Africa is engaging its partners from the win-win point of view, because if they do not do that, it will cost them from the whole lot of other areas. That is the reason why you may not agree with him. You may not accept with regards to his policy, whatever you think with regards to this particular communication. It is what the partners are communicating, and African nations are reacting on this, and more importantly to the country of China by the president of the country of Ghana and the leader of the country of Kenya. These two leaders are getting the message clear. One is talking on multilateralism and the other is talking about trade preferential engagement. Why is this? It is important because when the president of Kenya went to the country of China, he brought this message back to the people of his own country and the continent of Africa. Let's play this clip.
Earlier in May, Risch had raised concerns about President William Ruto's close ties with Beijing, flagging a statement Ruto made while in Beijing that Kenya and China are co-architects of a new world order. The US senator feels that Kenya's ties with China could hurt American interests. However, President William Ruto says that Kenya's friendship with China remains intact.
They have agreed to a reciprocal arrangement between Kenya and China. They have agreed to remove all the tariffs on our tea, on our coffee, on our avocado, and all other agricultural exports. It's partly why I have a bit of a problem with some of our friends, but it is what I must do for Kenya. You know, it's in the best interest of Kenya that we get into this market.
Some decisions you see nation states making outside there are because that country has weighed the cost-benefit, has done a cost-benefit analysis, and weighed that what you're calling the bad option is actually the best option in the optics and in the eyes of the state.
China is engaging Africa from the strategic point of view, whatever your taste and whatever your preference will mean regards to how China engages Africa. It is important to know that China continues to break down barriers as a result of its investment in the continent of Africa, one of Africa's largest investors and also bilateral trading partner.
China is the continent's largest trading partner, with total trade reaching nearly $300 billion in 2024.
Make no mistake, African nations have come to the point where they understand that China, to an extent, is opening some doors. Is China 100%? Not at all, but it's providing them what they may be looking for at this critical time in their history. The continent of Africa at the moment is reviewing the United States of America's tariff, as we've seen countries struggling to survive from a whole lot of importations, and also considering the fact that the African continental free trade area is not being talked about. However, we've seen the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which to an extent, the number of countries across the region will no longer benefit from it, and currently will be under review as of September of this year. These are moments where African nations must choose those partners that provide them the alternative in trade, whether it is in fringe powers across the European Union that you do not agree in some areas, or go alongside countries in Asia that provide you the alternative in terms of trade and bilateral engagement. At this moment, the continent of Africa is struggling to figure out itself, but diversification and also looking for alternative partners, whether it's in the security area, whether it's in trade, in social policy, technology transfer, and a whole lot of other things. Because at this moment, you do have your natural resources. You need to make sure that you can benefit from it. Otherwise, you will be told on what to do. Talking about value addition, at this moment, the continent of African nations must note that by adding some value into their products or their raw materials, it could give them the leverage that they have been looking for all this while. Let me know in the comment section what you think in regards to the current strategic trade collaboration between the country of China and the continent of Africa and the United States of America's own tariff coming from Mr. Donald Trump at the moment, and why the continent of Africa should continue to diversify its relationship irrespective of what its strategic partners may think about them. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Smash the like button and have a good day. Bye-bye.